It started like every suburban nightmare begins, with a fence, a fake smile, and someone named Karen. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not the kind of person to throw around stereotypes. I believe everyone deserves a fair chance. But some people just walk into your life waving a red flag while carrying a clipboard and talking about community standards before you've even unpacked your moving boxes. Let me rewind. I'm Ben, 42, municipal planning consultant, part-time legal advisor, and yes, I helped write the zoning and property regulations in my county. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean I literally sat on the panel that rewrote the ordinances during the last legislative review, worked alongside city attorneys, and signed off on property codes that every neighborhood in the area has to follow. So when I moved into a quiet cul-de-sac with a charming fixer-upper and a big backyard, including a pool, I didn't expect trouble. If anything, I expected peace. But what I got was Karen. Karen was the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA. Not the president, oh no, that would require an actual vote. She was more like the unelected dictator of lawn decor and patio furniture taste. Within 48 hours of moving in, I got my first taste. A note, taped to my door in aggressive, bold font, informed me that my mailbox paint color was non-compliant. It was beige. 2 days later, I came home to find her in my yard. Not near my yard, not walking past my yard, in my yard, measuring something by my pool with a tape measure, muttering about setback violations. That was the moment I realized Karen wasn't just annoying, she was invasive. I politely asked what she was doing, to which she replied, "Oh, just checking that your pool fencing meets community safety standards. The HOA takes these things very seriously." The HOA, of course. Now here's the thing about Karens like her. They think the HOA is a private government. They think bylaws trump municipal code. And most importantly, they assume the new guy is ignorant. What Karen didn't know was that I had helped write the very law that determined the setback limits and fencing standards in this zip code. So I smiled and said, "Well, let me know if you find anything. I'd be happy to walk you through the ordinances, since I wrote them." That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next few weeks, Karen escalated. She filed 3 violations with the HOA, none of which held up. She tried to block my landscaping project because the tree I planted wasn't aesthetically cohesive. She even told neighbors I was one of those government types trying to undermine neighborhood charm. I ignored it, because in my experience, bullies feed on reactions. Deny them that, and they starve. But then came the pool parties. The first time it happened, I thought I was hallucinating. I came home from a business trip to find a dozen people in my backyard, music blaring, kids in the pool, and a grill going full blast on my patio. Karen was at the center, margarita in hand, sun hat on head, lounging like she owned the place. I stood there, dumbfounded. "Excuse me, what the hell is going on?" Karen looked up, completely unfazed. "Oh, hi, Ben. Hope you don't mind. The HOA approved a temporary recreational event while you were away. We didn't think you'd be using the pool this weekend." I blinked. "You broke into my property." She waved a manicured hand. "Your side gate was unlocked, and technically, the HOA has easement rights for community wellness events." I laughed out loud. "Karen, that easement applies to the greenbelt, not private property. And last I checked, the community pool is 2 blocks down, not my backyard." She actually rolled her eyes. "Well, if you want to get technical." "Oh, we're getting technical," I said, immediately. I called the police, and while they were sympathetic, there was enough ambiguity in the HOA documents to make pressing charges difficult on the spot. Karen had twisted community use clauses just enough to convince a clueless board that she had the right. So I did what any frustrated but brilliant planner would do. I gathered intel. Over the next month, I collected security footage, documented every instance of trespassing, pulled HOA board meeting minutes, and even attended their open sessions, quietly, as a regular homeowner. And what I discovered? Karen had been doing this for years. She'd convinced the board to designate certain underutilized private spaces as community enhancement zones during certain times of the year. She never disclosed those spaces were people's private backyards, and the homeowners either didn't notice or had moved away. Most of her events were small, brunches, yoga, garden parties. But once a pool appeared on the block, Oh, that became her summer HQ. She manipulated board members with charm, threats, and legal babble no one was qualified to challenge, until me. So I bided my time. When she scheduled her next community splash day, I RSVP'd through the HOA with a polite, "Thanks for the invite, looking forward to it." Then I made some calls. I had the municipal code enforcement team on speed dial. I had the city council's housing advisor ready. I even looped in a local reporter friend who specialized in real estate scams. And then, the day of the party came. Oh, what a glorious, glorious day. Karen arrived early with decorations and a Bluetooth speaker. This time, she had an entire Facebook group RSVPing, nearly 40 attendees. I waited until she set up. Waited until the kids jumped in the pool. Waited until she gave a speech about neighborhood unity. And then I stepped out onto my deck. In full view, holding a clipboard of my own. "Karen," I called out over the music. "May I have a word?" She froze. Everyone turned. "Hi, Ben," she said with false cheer. "Didn't know you'd be joining us." I smiled. I wouldn't miss it. "But before we begin, I need—" "Ben, don't be dramatic." That's when the first code officer appeared. Then a second. Then the police. Then the city housing rep, all walking down my driveway with official badges. Karen's face went from smug to ghostly pale in 5 seconds. "Ma'am," the officer said, "we've received evidence that you've organized unauthorized events on private property, including multiple trespassing incidents, misuse of HOA bylaws, and unlawful entry." Karen tried to sputter something about community improvement, but I stepped in. "To clarify," I said, "this is a private residential property. No easement exists here. The party violates noise ordinances, safety codes, and insurance regulations. Additionally, Mrs. Karen Smith has misrepresented her authority as an HOA officer to commit repeated trespassing and fraud. All violations are being documented as we speak." Then I handed Karen a cease and desist letter, signed by my attorney, with a pending civil suit for damages. She exploded. "You can't sue me. You're just a homeowner." I smiled. "And the homeowner whose property you've used for 6 unauthorized events. The homeowner whose city code you violated. The homeowner who helped write those codes." She was stunned. A few neighbors applauded. Someone took a video. Within 2 weeks, Karen had been removed from the HOA board by an emergency vote. My lawsuit proceeded. Turns out I wasn't the only one she'd wronged. 3 other neighbors joined my suit after realizing she'd used their yards in similar schemes years ago. Karen tried to counterclaim, said we were targeting her, said it was all a misunderstanding. The judge? A former colleague of mine. He was not amused. We won. Big. Karen was ordered to pay damages, attorney's fees, and issue a written public apology to the HOA for misrepresenting policy. She had to do community service, lost her position, and eventually, thank the heavens, put her house up for sale. The pool? Still there, still mine. But now it has new security cameras, a reinforced fence, and an automatic lock system. The only parties held there now are by invite only, and the guest list doesn't include anyone with a clipboard.